Hey, stick around after the episode for a quick react to the trailer from Summer Games Fest. We have a great episode, a double stacked episode. We have a great conversation with Danny Barnes, and you're going to hear that first. And then after the episode, David and I are going to talk about the new information that we learned on Friday, the day after we recorded this. So enjoy. Yeah. Welcome back to Sonic Weekly. You made it. We made it. Another week. Welcome to the show. We've got a good show this week. Usually we have a good show every week. Sometimes, some weeks better than others. This week, you tuned in for the good show episode this week. I've traveled from the past to the future, and then that future self traveled to the past, this current self, to say it's a good show. My name is Grant, but enough about me, folks. How are you? Hey, let's talk to, going viral again, the Lord Chancellor of Sega Saturn knowledge. You're one of the preeminent speakers on Burning Rangers. Bo. Hi, Bo.
Here we go, buddy. Yeah, big week for the Rangers. We can get into it if you're interested, but I was just reading an article in Portuguese about Burning Rangers, and I don't know the last time that happened. Maybe 1998.
Wild stuff, folks. And the star of the show, out of the shadows, into the spotlight, it's David the Lurker. Hi, David.
Whoa, hey, Grant. Hey, Bo. Yes, once again, Portugal. Well, it's Brazil. Right.
It was Brazil.
It was Brazil. They speak Portuguese. Of course, their Portuguese is a little different than the Portuguese in Portugal, I'm sure. Just like how, Spanish in Spain is slightly different than the rest of Spanish in Latin America. This is information. I hope you enjoy it.
We're learning new things all the time. And let's not waste any more time before introducing our guest. We're excited to have him. He's writer for the IDW Sonic series, Scrapnik Island, and more. It's Danny Barnes. Hi, Danny.
Hey, guys. What's going on? Glad you had me on.
Greetings.
Don't be so sure, Danny. I feel like we're off to a terrible start.
Right.
On our end, okay. You're doing great.
Right.
But we're going to redo everything we said.
Okay, we're going to be like, wow, we have a fantastic guest. We have a lot of good guests. We have a lot of great guests. But how many fantastic guests have we had? I don't know if we've described any of them that way. Don't tell anyone who's ever been on the show prior that they weren't fantastic. But no, get rid of that one, too. That's a bad intro.
Yeah.
How about this?
Keeping them all in, buddy.
Of course we are. Yes. Daniel Barnes. Whoa. Hey.
Well, yeah, thanks for joining us. Okay, the first thing I think that we should address is Bo and the Burning Rangers co-op multiplayer being, well, you can say what Rings of Saturn has uncovered.
Right. We usually, right.
What's going on?
Yeah, we're going to hit the news from 1998.
We should should have mentioned to you beforehand, before we started recording. We usually start with the news, and then we'll dive in deep with you. So good.
All right, so I'm going to tell you a tale about one of the Sonic Team games from the mid 90s to late 90s period, Burning Rangers. In the earliest previews, it showed two of the Burning Rangers running around on the same screen. It was multiplayer co-op mode in all of the original videos, all of the first magazine previews. And then the game comes out and it's one player. There's no two players at all. So what happened? Well, what happened was they cut the feature, but they left a bunch of the code in, and I have gone back in, surgically reconstructed all of the things needed to make the second player work.
Wow.
And now you can do two players on the same screen. And it's kind of in between the level of fun you'll have with Tails in Sonic 2 and the level of fun you'll have with Tails in Sonic Adventure. That's kind of the boundary.
Huh.
But people like it. They're writing about it in Brazil. They're writing about it in France.
I mean, there's retro gaming sites that I think ought to just have a Bo Bales section at this point. Like your name is ringing out in the Sega Saturn sphere. I don't know that there's been this much like dedicated, genuinely, I guess you could say, research is what you're doing.
That's what I tell my wife is I'm doing research. No, I'm not playing this game. I'm reading it.
Because it sort of started as a joke. You were like, well, I'm just going to become like the #1 Burning Rangers expert. And then that happened.
It's true.
Manifested
I thought it would be funny. Like in Burning Rangers, the idea is, okay, it's not a Sonic game. They wanted to do something else. So we're going to do this really positive game. There's no violence. You just go and you rescue people because you're like brave firefighters. And then one of the aspects of the positivity of the game is after you rescue the people, they send you emails. Whoa, email is new. This is the 90s. What a novel idea. And the messages are like unintentionally funny. Like most of them are like, oh yeah, hey, Burning Rangers, thanks for saving me. But I guess they kind of got bored and just like started writing like weird jokes and like just stuff that made no sense in it. And so I thought it would be funny. What if I just posted like one of those every day on the internet? Because nobody's read them. Like Burning Rangers, they didn't sell a whole lot of them. They didn't make a whole lot of them. And it was a dead system anyway. So like, nobody's ever seen this. They'll laugh at it. And then like slowly it took over my life. So
as most memes do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, have you ever played Burning Rangers?
I'm familiar with it. I have not played it. I have never owned a Sega Saturn.
Oh
man, I saw a picture of you online with a Saturn t-shirt.
I love the aesthetic. I've played a few of the games, but I don't own the actual console.
Oh man.
I've played Nights into Dreams, I've played The Stall, I've played a little bit. I really I appreciate how arcade focused the Sega Saturn was, but I was like 4 years old when the Sega Saturn came out, so I did not own one, unfortunately. And now it's like the retro market is so insane that it's like kind of hard to get that stuff at a price that's not just ludicrous. So I don't know. Maybe when I have some extra money to splurge, I'll bite the bullet and get the actual hardware. But for now, it's just been emulation for me for that stuff.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like most people nowadays, it's how they experience it, especially any of the I have a Saturn, but I don't own Burning Rangers. I do not have the money for that, right? Because that's the price of a small 2-bedroom house, I think, at this point.
I think it's the most expensive one you can get. Maybe next to Panzer Dragoon Saga?
I feel like Saga's probably... Because Saga was always expensive even when everything else wasn't. So,
but the mods that you're making, Bo, you can download them from your blog.
That's right, yeah. You have to have a way of playing patched Saturn games, and there's various options people have for doing that. But yes.
Well, anyway, as you know, dear listener, we tend to record these on Thursdays in the week. So this is the day before hopefully an avalanche of new gaming news is going to be coming, particularly related to Sonic Shadow Generations. I didn't say the X that time, but I did leave an appropriate pause to indicate that there's a space.
I think that's the right way to do it.
That's where you'll insert a sound effect of a slash, right?
But there were on Twitter leaks that looked pretty, accurate for the box art. We'll find out if it's true tomorrow. Theoretically, we're getting a trailer because we saw Shadow in Jeff Keighley's preview of the preview. Would you say that's the big Sonic news of the week? Is this leak?
Right. I mean, yeah. For now, yeah. I mean, tomorrow it'll just be the announcement. But today, as we record, it is that leak. It was tweeted out by somebody who calling themselves, Lupin. Lupin.
Arsene Lupin.
Lupin.
The gentleman thief himself did it. He's online now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the modern age. I don't think you can be a thief without a social media presence nowadays. And right, because there were some rumors like, hey, we think we got the date, and then he just shows up, wearing the top hat, all classy. He's like, here's the box art, here's some screenshots. And I guess what's made everyone excited is like that final end card, I guess, for what the trailer is, where it's like, hey, here's the extras. So hey, remember Sonic Adventure? Well,
I do.
Yeah. Do you wish that you still could play as the original Sonic Adventure Sonic model?
I do
often.
Yeah,
I love the guts of this guy to put his freaking watermark on the leaks. Also, that's the part that's killing me.
Yeah.
He's like, "This is my leak, by the way." Insane.
This is
guy's crazy. I'm here for it, man.
Yeah, he just came out because I don't know. Is this a known leaker? Is this his first time? I didn't actually
I
go
think it's
beyond.
his first one, and what a debut, I must say. I think if you like scroll down on his page, like it seems like I was talking about this with a friend. It seems like he was just doing sweepstakes kind of stuff, and then the second he got his hands on this league, he's like, I need to rebrand immediately, right now. I need to write in French. I need to become Lupa. Like, oh, all right, man, all right.
Yeah,
there you have it.
Gosh.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Yeah, it's there's the watch, Google Pixel 8a. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
We live in the age of like, they're like colorful Gotham Batman villains, but not villains. They're like anti-heroes. You know, they're like digital information thieves. They're Robin Hoods that are giving you early access to box art that you could have seen tomorrow.
I'm the boxler, Batman. I'm the boxler. gonna leak your box art.
No, not the box art.
No boxler, no.
Box art.
I'm gonna box you. I'm gonna box you, Batman. Boxel me this.
You're boxing me in.
That Sonic Adventure skin though is interesting. It looks cool. I can't help but, you know, I'm a Sonic fan, so I go to the negative all the time, I guess. But I'm like, man, I wish they had put that in Sonic Frontiers before they put it in this game. But I guess we're getting it now, so it's fine.
Right.
But,
and since
it's cool though.
Yeah, since we're getting it now, it'll immediately be modded into Frontiers. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, it looks nice. It does kind of, you know, remind me of, you know, back when Generations was first announced, and people were like, oh, there's two Sonics, but is there going to be a third? Is Adventure Sonic going to be there? And a lot of people misconstrued like Ryan Drummond saying, oh, I tried out for Sonic again and didn't get it, as, oh, they were going to do 3 Sonics, even though I don't think they were ever going to do 3 Sonics. But it is a funny little nod to like that moment, and I guess that is like the one Sonic.
Imagine you put the skin on and it's Ryan Drummond. That would be cursed. I would like lose my mind if they just kind of sneak that into the game and don't tell anyone about it when you put the skin on.
This
is happening.
I'd be into that. Yeah, just get him in the booth, awesome. Re-record the entire game.
Look out, you're gonna crash.
Ah!
Yes, but there's also I don't know if this is just like a digital thing or if it'll be a physical thing. The Gerald Robotnik's journal detailing Shadow's creation, which looks like, hey, you like lore? Well, we're gonna give you a tiny little book of lore. And of course, anytime I see something that's like, hey, this is about the lore, I get incredibly scared and excited at the same time.
Palm sweaty.
Yeah, because you're like,
palm spaghetti.
Right, because from the little thumbnail, it's you can't read anything on there, but you can see like the little sketches, presumably by Gerald himself. You see Angel Island.
Mm-hmm.
You see it looks like to be the Emerald Shrine, maybe. Yeah, and there's the Ark, and it looks like there's a little photo. Maybe it's him next to some of the other people who died that we didn't know about, because it wasn't just Maria who got shot. Plenty of people got shot that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, we only really remember her.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, she died, but what about everyone else? Didn't they have family? Like, nobody cares. Plenty of
everyone art for the Ark.
What about Professor Patrick?
Yeah.
Patrick was there. He got shot too, huh?
Yeah, but nobody cares about Patrick. He was like,
poor Patrick.
Yeah.
What if you opened the journal up and it just said pee pee poo poo over and over again? The entirety of the book.
I mean,
gotcha.
Yeah, it looks neat. You can also see like, hey, certain things are like blocked out. Like, oh, it's redacted. Hey, this is like, I always like that sort of that neat little effect there. But the fact that Angel Island is there and in the shrine, it's like, oh, are they going to try and canonize like one of the more, you know, like everyone loves to talk about the headcanon of like what is the ultimate life form, what is Shadow, what is the bio lizard, what inspired all of this. And so it's like, hey, well, Gerald at least confirms he knows what the heck Angel Island is. But I don't know if it'll dive in.
They had that shrine on the Ark in Sonic Adventure 2 that looks exactly like the Master Emerald shrine. So yeah,
so it makes sense. So but we've never been told like outright, yeah, he was there, or oh, he found a picture of it once and went, that's cool.
I'm glad that they're actually like got it together this time. You got a movie about the origins of Shadow coming out in December. You're going to put the game out with Shadow in it. With what? Oh, we have this character we're going to introduce in the movie, also in the game, and stuff about him.
Yeah.
Like, way to go.
Some brand synergy.
Yeah.
Way to go.
As a treat.
Third time's the charm.
Yeah.
Yeah. They didn't quite, the stars did not quite align for the first movie, really.
No.
Colors Ultimate and the first movie, those didn't quite match up. The second movie in Sonic Origins or Frontiers, none of that matched up really.
Second movie was like, oh, it's Tails' anniversary, and then Knuckles is just like stole the spotlight from him, basically.
And there were also a handful of screenshots. Some of them are like, hey, remember Generations? Yeah. And then it's also, hey, have you ever wanted to see Shadow with wings?
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's the screenshot that got me most puzzled. What the hell is this Bayonetta sort of? This is crazy.
What are you talking? Forget about it. Eh? Hey. No, yeah. he's got like Black Arms looking wings or Devil Doom looking wings or something. So we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
it looks cool.
Right? Is it coming out of him? Is it something attached to him? Like sort of Venomy almost.
Venomy.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will, man. Yeah, we'll see. I am learning as you guys are. So
you're saying that you weren't sitting in the office of Sonic Team watching them make this game?
I was. That's just my uncle who works at Sega, who knows everything. Not me myself. My uncle does work at Sega, and he knows everything though.
Wow.
We did have last week a guy whose dad worked at Sega.
That is
for real.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He was the one kid on the playground that didn't lie when he said that.
Danny, let's talk about you because I think we should, because that's why you're here. We're going to talk about you, talk about your comics, talk about your hot takes. You have a great Twitter presence. We like your posts. You're a fan, and you're also a creator. You're a writer that's written for a number of different books, including, as we mentioned, IDW Sonic and Scrapnik Island, with more to come. So how did your love of Sonic begin, and how did it come about writing for comics and yeah.
So starting off with Sonic, it was like roughly, I remember, I think I was around 4 years old. We visited my aunt in Sacramento, and she had a son, my cousin, and he had a Sega Genesis, and he had Sonic 1 and Sonic 3, and I remember watching him play that, and I really loved it. And then also, it was a mixture of that and then going to Blockbuster with my mom, and you had Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and the SAT-AM VHSs there. And then on top of all that, the big brain move Sega did in the 90s, which I think is like what kind of cemented it for me, was putting a lot of their games on PC back then. So I had the Sonic and Knuckles collection on PC and Sonic R and Sonic CD. And I had, because I didn't own like an actual, I was a Nintendo kid actually. So I had Nintendo consoles. And I had a PlayStation, but I didn't get a Sega Genesis and a Dreamcast until like later, or I was like renting the consoles. Remember when you could rent consoles in the 90s from like Hollywood Video and Blockbuster?
Yes. I rented a Sega Saturn.
Yeah, like I rented a Dreamcast, but I didn't own one until years later. But like having the PC games, like Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my favorite Sonic game because of it. So,
so when Origins came out, you're like, oh, finally they got the good music back.
Yeah, finally the stuff I remember. That's a whole other tangent. Just like realizing those were different songs. But yeah, he just kind of he's an awesome character, and he was just kind of everywhere, and I latched on to him.
Did you also like Mario, being a Nintendo kid?
Oh, I loved Mario. It's Mario and Sonic. That's what I was obsessed with. Mario, Sonic, Kirby, Rayman. All those little mascot platformers. I was with Crash Bandicoot, Spyro. I was all over that stuff, man.
I always feel like it's sort of exaggerated when people are like, oh, it was kids fighting on the playground, Mario versus Sonic. Because I definitely remember a lot of people just loving both Mario and Sonic because it was just like, but they're both great. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't think I was. I was like, I liked them all. I can see that happening. I mean, I do remember when Super Smash Brothers came out on N64, it's like, oh my god, it's Mario fighting Pikachu! Whoa, what? And that just blew my mind. So
everybody wanted to punch Pikachu.
I can definitely see the appeal of arguing. But yeah, I liked everything. I didn't argue about it. It was that. I had the comics too. The Archie comics were coming out. Back when you could subscribe to comics by mailing in to Archie in the Sonic checklists in the back. I was doing that and receiving them in the mail. And yeah,
the miniseries is
the mini Sonic Quest.
Ooh.
Yeah, the Death Egg Saga.
That's right.
Death Egg Saga.
Did you get
Yeah,
Special issues, man.
Right.
Those were special. Like,
especially
I
issues?
got Sonic 50 right here in my hand. I'm holding the.
Well, you just
man,
have
yeah.
it, just sitting there. Wow.
The
flopping
director's
about.
cut, or
The original?
It's the original one.
Ooh.
the original one.
The
Great.
director's cut. I have a few issues of Sonic the comic here too from the UK.
Oh,
Whoa.
those.
Maybe I should actually plug my webcam in and I can show this
I
to you
guess-
guys. I don't know if the listener will be too.
Oh, we can describe
right.
it. Like, this is not the first time we've been like, "Hey, you can't see this, but it's really cool." So we just hope that maybe we can be descriptive enough.
I sold my Archie collection probably back in like 2000 or 2001, but I hung on to In Game. I hung on to number 25, like all the ones I really like.
Why would you ever sell the Sonic comics?
Look, it was so uncool to like the Archie stuff.
So good. That's
in
what you
2000.
what you do is you buy issues of X-Men and you hide the Sonic comics behind them, so nobody knows you've got them.
No, but I was like, no. The only thing that matters is like the Japanese manuals. And look, some guys kind of sort of translated it. Like, I got to get rid of all this Archie stuff.
Here you go. You see me?
Yeah.
Hey,
There you
I
are.
got this little mess over
Yes,
there.
I see you.
But
All good.
That's right. For the listener, we have the live
Oh,
feed.
yeah.
Whoa, Mega Man.
got
Look
all
at
the
that.
All
Mega
right,
Man
so-
issues from Archie.
Ooh,
There we go.
okay.
Just going through the 50 right here.
There it is.
There it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
With
That's in
the
good
gold,
shape.
right?
The gold
Because it
lining.
matched. Yeah, it matched issue 25 because I had the silver lining.
Goodness.
Ooh, that's a nice cover. Is that Spaz? Oh, some Sonic comics.
Oh no, the digest was Tyson, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Yeah, I
Tyson.
can do this
Oh,
all day. I have
Yes.
the super special.
Ooh.
Um,
Okay.
Oh, Mark Hughes sent me this. Stay Sonic from the UK.
Yeah.
Oh, the Stay Sonic book.
Yeah, I
Oh,
got
fun.
this. I got
Right, there's some random quotes from UK celebrities of the 90s if you want to pretend like you know anything about the UK. I forget where exactly in that book they are. And I think there's a couple pages in color and the rest is black and white. I don't. It's been too long. I don't know. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I just got a whole bunch of crap back here, man. I don't bore you with it right now, but yes, I have quite the comic collection of Sonic.
Right,
collecting it all
because
my
you
life.
are right. You were, I guess, a fan of Sonic first, and then you became a creator second. It wasn't like
Yeah, for sure.
you were handed this. Somebody went, "Hey, write a Sonic comic," and you went, "I don't know
Who?
what this is."
Who?
What?
What?
And then it
This is
infected you
Sonic.
as it, yeah. Right. So, oh no, I've sort of lost track of what I was going to say. Right. So growing up Sonic, but so you had Sonic, like Archie Sonic. Did you? I'm assuming then you must have fallen in love with like the comic medium as a whole, or was it just?
Oh yeah.
Was it more?
When I was a kid, Sonic was the thing that kind of got me into comics. Yeah, that was the
Okay.
thing, and then I expanded out beyond that. But yeah, Sonic was like my
Mm-hmm.
introduction to that medium as a whole. And really, oh my god, I beat myself up when I was younger because there were so many books I had where I was like, oh, I like the pictures in this, and I like cut the pictures out and
Oh.
ruined the
Oh,
book,
yeah.
and I would have just go back and
I did that.
So stupid.
Many such cases.
So
yeah.
many
Yeah.
things of that. But yeah, he introduced me to comics, and I guess I'm trying to like draw a logical line to all of this. But yeah, all my life I've liked Sonic all my life. I've read comics all my life, and I've always liked the idea of telling stories. I remember when I was a kid, I was like, oh, I want to make video games because I like Mario and I like Sonic and I like Spyro. And what I didn't realize at the time was that I liked telling stories. I liked the characters. I liked the world.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
liked. I didn't want to program stuff. Like I wanted to like make
Right.
cool worlds and characters up. So I was always making little like fun comics and making up little fan fiction and stuff when I was a kid. I know I went to the Navy when I got out of high school. I went straight to the Navy, and while I was in the Navy, I was
Oh, wow.
coming up with like ideas for a comic I wanted to make just in my free time to keep sane because the military is a soul crushing experience. So I was going to cons in my spare time, and that's when I really started going to comic book conventions and trying to like really teach myself how to write comics. And I learned how to write comics again from Sonic because Ian Flynn used to have a forum called the Bumble King Forums that he hosted. And he was cool enough to post scripts from the Archie comics stories that he wrote. So, and I owned those books. So I was able to look at the scripts he wrote and look at the issues they were for and kind of reverse engineer how to write comics by having both the finished product and the script, which is super helpful. I think writing comics and stuff like that is easy. You just need like someone to like show you the process because it can seem like a lot without having someone there to, but once it's broken down for you in your practice, I think it's not too bad. But anyway, that's how I kind of learned how to write comics, and I applied that to an original thing I wrote called The Black Mage. And so I was coming up with this while I was in the Navy, and it was like 2015. I just got out. I just did 4 years that I got out because I wanted them to just pay for my college. That's why I went to the Navy. Basically, right when I got out, I had signed up for college in San Francisco. I went to the Academy of Art University. But in the interim, because I got out in spring, my semester started in the fall. And so during the summer, I moved back in with my parents and had to work a job. So I was working at Walmart, and one of my buddies, his name is John Charles Holmes. He was like, "Hey, dude, you know that Black Mage idea you've been sharing with me that you've just been knocking around? Yeah, so Oni Press is doing open submissions right now. Now, Oni Press is a comics publisher. Their biggest thing is Scott Pilgrim. That's Scott Pilgrim comes from Oni Press, and they have a bunch of other licenses and cool stuff that they've done, but that's their hugest thing. And so they're doing open submissions where like anyone at all can submit a comic idea to them, and they're going to look at every pitch that comes across their desk, and they're going to try to like kind of like refresh the industry with like fresh talent and like get some people in." And he's like, "You should pitch that Black Mage idea." I was like, "Okay." And so like I looked at their instructions on their website. I kind of took stock of it. I made a pitch document based on their suggestions. I know I commissioned an artist to do some sample sequentials of a script I wrote. I put together a PDF file and sent it to them, and I still remember to this day, I was on my buddy's house in his apartment on his couch eating a burrito, and they called me, as in a carne asada burrito, and they called me. They're like, "Is this Daniel? Yeah, we wanna make your comic, dude." And so that was my very first professional comic that got like published, and that was in like,
wow.
It took a while for it to come out. It didn't come out until 2019, but like in 2015, that's when I got picked up, and that's what kind of got me professionally in. Before that, I did a web comic called New Super Mario Adventures, which was a fan comic. That got a little traction for a bit, but that was kind of my boot camp. That was me taking the stuff I learned from Ian Flynn's stuff and like applying it to a web comic. But yeah, I did that, and then Oni Press got the license to a Gretzico, which is like I don't know if you're familiar with the Gretzico. It's like a Sanrio. Yeah. It's like a red panda who sings karaoke, death metal, and she has a soul-crushing office job. I wrote a couple issues for that because Oni Press also had that, and they were like, "Hey, you want to write some of this? You did good on Black Mage." And so I just kind of like just by being in the right place at the right time and people being nice, I kind of got in, and then after that, I basically got a literary agent along the way, and the first thing I told her was, "I want to write on Sonic. Do you know anyone at IDW?" She's like, "Yeah." And then like 2 weeks later, they're like, "Hey, Daniel, you want to write the 2020 thing for the 2022 annual?" And that's how I got the Jamurl versus Omega story in. And so yeah, it was just a process of liking Sonic the whole time, learning how to write stuff, doing my own thing, and then I just kind of eventually snuck my way over to Sonic over time. So
nice.
That's amazing. I love that.
Yes, I was looking very quickly at the first issue. How do you say it again? Agretsuko.
Agretsuko, yeah, Agretsuko.
Yes. I was like, oh, I should maybe. I've never actually read it. I mean, I've sort of seen it's aware. Let me look at what you did, and of course, that very first issue, it's a little funny, right? That the story is about.
So that comic came out, I think, like a month, like 2 weeks or 4 weeks right before the pandemic. So the first issue I wrote for Gretzico was, I was like, oh, I'm going to do a story about like, oh, I'm going to do a zombie apocalypse parody, and it's going to be about people going into work when they shouldn't, when they're sick, and kind of infecting each other. And the company they work at in Agretsuko is called the Carrier Man Trading Company, I think. And so I called it the C virus. And so 1 month before the coronavirus happens, I've written a Gretzico story about the C virus infecting everyone. And there are some people online like, that's not funny. I'm like, I wrote this like in November, dude. Like I had no idea this was going to happen. Please believe me. That's not how comics work, dude. This was written months ago. Yeah, it was horrible timing.
You're like, all right, I'm just going back to the Wuhan wet market to finish drawing the rest of these issues.
I mean,
I'm in the mood for a bat sandwich right now. Let me. Oh man!
Right. I guess you were in some ways. I was just saying, in some ways, I guess you were sort of synced up with Sonic because at the same time they were doing their own
the metal virus
zombie. Right,
Yeah.
it was smack dab in the middle. So I guess maybe you were always destined to work on Sonic in some capacity.
I remember the deck director going, I haven't made it
was
to
in the
you.
air.
It was.
That was the whole problem.
All right, Grant, go on. Go ahead.
The pitch for Scrapnik Island and how that story developed.
Scrapnik Island. So, okay, I had just written that that annual story with Omega and Jim Earl, as I told you, and in the midst of me finishing writing that, they also approached me, like in the middle of me writing it, go, hey, actually, we have an opening. So apparently they had a slot for the fall for a 4-issue miniseries that was going to kind of like tie up some narrative loose ends in the ongoing book as its own little miniseries, but through circumstance or something that got written, it kind of resolved itself in the main book or before they could get to the miniseries. So like, we just have a slot here for 4 issues. Let's ask Danny. And so I pitched them a few things. I was like, I got some stuff for you right here. And they went with Scrapnik Island, and they liked it. So that's how I just was in the right place at the right time, and they had an opening, and they took a chance on me.
It was exciting that you brought back some elements from Sonic 3 and Knuckles, but that makes sense too. You were talking about that game being part of the Sonic and Knuckles collection, and we hadn't seen that version of Mecha Sonic in a long time, even though he's got the coolest design. I feel like any Robot Sonic. I feel like that's kind of even
I agree.
a sort of a consensus opinion, yeah. And so yeah, well, I'm not going to ask you what your other pitches were, but what I will ask you is...
well, unless there's a pitch that you hate so much that you're like, well, let me just talk about why I would never use it.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't want to share my other pitches because maybe I can get them made someday. So
Yeah.
I want to keep those in my pocket for now. But yeah, I pitched 3, and Scrapnik Island was the one they went with.
Was that the one that you hoped? Were you
that was the best one out of all 3. I was like, I literally, when I pitch stuff, because when I pitch stuff, I always have contingencies. Like, okay, if you don't go for this, here's some alternates.
Yeah,
But I will definitely highlight my favorite and go, if it matters, this is my favorite one.
Yeah.
And so that was under Scrapnik Island. This is the best one. This is the one I want to do.
It felt particularly inspired, that where it was coming from, like a place of like, oh, this is a different approach to it, because again, we hadn't seen this character in so long, and it was also the thing of Sonic and Tails are on their own adventure, which is something that is sort of its own sort of treat.
Yeah, I'm very much like I was telling you earlier, I grew up with the VHSs of the Sonic cartoons from Blockbuster, and so I watched a lot of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and I've always loved kind of the element of, it's just Sonic and Tails, and they're just popping up in different places and walking the land and helping people with their problems. I've always really liked that format, almost like a wandering samurai, almost like Samurai Jack. It's just like, they're going from town to town, setting wrongs to right and stuff. So that's kind of what I centered on, was Sonic and Tails going a classic adventure together to really kind of center it. And that, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles being my favorite, and also obviously, if it hasn't already been made clear on Twitter, I also in high school watched a lot of Super Mario Brothers Z. So that's another reason I like Mecha Sonic so much. And that fed into it. So it was very much a dream project. Just like, wow, I can't believe I got paid to write this professionally. This is like one of the stories I've always wanted to tell in my whole life. So
I mean, that makes sense. I think a lot of Sonic fans who grew up on the internet in that period, it was like Nazo Unleashed, Super Mario Brothers Z, like that was as big or even bigger than official Sonic things. So it is neat that sort of comes together or comes out. I mean, the whole miniseries as a whole, like it's also a very easy entry point. Like if somebody wants to just read a Sonic book, like, yeah, you can go in, like, oh, was it the start of an arc or whatever? But it is very, on the surface, it's very simple. It's Sonic and Tails. It's not like immediately before or after like this huge tie-in event that you have to read 12, 14 issues beforehand. I know it's something that I feel like comic books in general don't do enough nowadays as a whole, especially when it comes to like the big two, DC and Marvel. Like you don't really
Need some
get
on-ramps. Yeah.
and so
Absolutely.
like it's very classic, that sort of storytelling, but it feels modern. It's not like it's a the parts that are throwbacks are in the right, like the right proportion. Like, oh, there are references. If you know
If you know, you know.
Sonic 3,
Yeah.
if you know, yeah, but you don't need to have played every Sonic game or read every IDW book up to that point to just, be able to hand it to a kid and say, here. And I think that is probably its biggest strength. It's just the way
and it works
yeah.
both ways too, because if you know it, you're like, oh man, this writer really knows what they're doing. They're got their lore on point. And then if you don't know it, and then you go back and you see it, you're like, oh, that's where it came from. And then the light goes on that way too.
Yeah, man. No, yeah. Thanks. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's how I like. I mean, yeah, I'm very much just like just it stands on its own. You don't need a lot of prior knowledge. I think that Sonic kind of lends himself to that just automatically. I know whenever I go to cons and I'm selling the book to people, I'm just like, do you know who Sonic is? Yep. Do you know who Tails is? Yep. Do you know who Robotnik is? Yep. That's all you need to know to read this book. You don't need to know anything else, and that helps me sell the book because people love reading comics. That what they don't always want is a lot of baggage along with it. So it's just a light on its own read.
Yeah, that's smart too, because it's like the references and stuff show that you're taking care with it, but it's not just a reference to be a reference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean those are always kind of my favorite references too. Ones that almost like, I guess for lack of a better term, almost feel like they're gaslighting you. Like, was that a reference, or is he just kind of what's going on? Because it's I slip it in a way where you can't tell if I'm referencing something.
Yeah.
Like people thought at first when they saw the "I'll crush you" thing with Mecha Sonic, I put it in the dialogue in a way that it makes sense to put it there. So people were like, "Is this a coincidence, or was he?" And I had to go, no, it's a reference, guys. I'm referencing Mario Brothers Z on purpose. But that's how I like to do it. I like to just sneak them past you, and if you catch them, then good for you.
Well, those are the most effective ones because it also feels natural. It feels like it belongs.
Yeah, because that reference, like, I didn't get. Like, I didn't know that series. I got the Sonic, OVA and 3K references.
Mm-hmm.
But that it was until I saw like people on Twitter talking about it. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, that's like a reference to like this other thing.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Because I think the three of us are just a little bit older, where Super Mario Brothers Z, it's like I was aware it existed, but it wasn't like I wasn't a kid. So it didn't affect me in the same way. It was like, oh, that's there. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was just young enough to catch it. I was almost missed the train because, I was in high school. I was in high school when it came out or was big. So I was like, I almost was too old for it, but I got it.
But I guess that was also like when you were in high school. I mean, was it still cool to be like, oh, I'm into Dragon Ball Z, I'm into Naruto? Like
it was, I think it was like getting there, but it wasn't quite like when I was in high school. I graduated in 2010. So
okay.
So yeah, like 2006 to 2010 was when I was in high school. So it was starting to become like, oh, there was a lot of there's people wearing Death Note shirts from Hot Topic, and it was starting to happen, but it wasn't quite. It certainly wasn't cool to like Sonic back then. Like I was like in a minority on liking Sonic. That was back when like we were hot off the heels of Sonic 06 and Shadow the Hedgehog. It was miserable.
Right. All right. Because when I graduated high school, it's 03, there was an anime club. But those weren't the cool kids. It's funny because I didn't even like. Okay, right. Here's the thing. Nobody's looking at my high school yearbook because after we got it, I was like, oh, okay, we're graduating high school. I'm an adult now, I guess. And I start flipping through it. I see pictures of Anime Club, and like there's a picture of some girl drawing Knuckles from Sonic Adventure 2 in the pose on a whiteboard, and I was like, what? This happened in my school and I wasn't aware of the fact that there was Sonic occurring?
Sonic occurring in my neighborhood?
It's exactly. But yeah, it was still kind of like yeah. I did have friends who watched Dragon Ball Z at the time.
Oh,
You
I
know,
think
Toonami.
Dragon Ball Z, I think, was one of those things that's kind of always transcended,
Yeah.
and it kind of like I think it just did. Like you were like a jock and you watched Dragon Ball Z back then in high school. I think like it's Dragon. My dad likes Dragon Ball Z. He's in his 60s, and it's like the one anime he like watches with me. Like it's
Yeah.
Dragon Ball is something special, which is why I like Sonic so much because it draws from Dragon Ball so much. But
Yeah.
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 Well, I think it's interesting too, like learning how much it was drawing from Dragon Ball kind of like later, because that information wasn't out there
Right.
Yeah,
until later. Like people would say, like, "Oh, so, 7 Chaos Emeralds, seven Dragon Balls, and he turns yellow. Look at the parallels." But they were
Right.
like very explicit about it.
Right. I mean, that was a point. Like, I don't even like when I became aware of Dragon Ball. I don't think I was even aware who Oshima was, and the fact that like, oh, what he grew up on, who his peers were. Like, there's no way. I mean, I don't know anyone who connected it until the internet showed up, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I guess this does make sense. Of
Yeah.
course, Dragon Ball has to influence Sonic to some degree.
It has influenced literally almost everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because like the fact that Sonic 2 is being made in San Francisco, like it makes you wonder, like, were they getting sent like VHS tapes in the mail so they could watch the newest episodes of Dragon Ball Z? Because I think if I'm remembering correctly, the episodes that where Goku finally turned Super Saiyan, I think was like December of '91. So they had already
so they're
They might
set
have
up.
been
Yeah.
they might have been reading the manga though, which the manga is before the
I mean,
anime.
I guess that would be a lot easier to because I'm sure there were places I know like in San Francisco where Sega was, like Beep Mega Drive, the Japanese gaming mag, like those were imported. If you lived in San Francisco, you could buy them. Nowhere else in the United States, but in San Francisco in the early 90s, you could find it. So, I mean, it makes a lot more sense, yeah, that they're just, reading the manga. But I do wonder if maybe
There's a
if they
chance.
convince anyone to send them out. Yeah,
The idea of them just like watching bootleg VHSs of anime is
Yeah.
awesome while they're developing that stuff.
right. That would be before the era of the bootlegs with the old fan translations where they're all fighting with each other, which is always a fun thing to.
Because well, you got to think. We know Yuji Naka's birthday, 1965, 9/17. So he's
Mhm.
27 when Sonic 2 is being developed, right? So
Mm.
they're all into that stuff right then.
Yes, youthful, no prior convictions. He's just having the time of his life.
Sure would be a shame if any crime happened after this
Right.
moment in my life.
Yes, Danny, did you donate to Naka's legal defense fund at all, or
I can't say that I have at this moment, but
you didn't like say, "Hey, IDW, could a portion of the proceeds of Scrapnik Island go to no, not at all." Wow.
It didn't help that he was like very, very guilty.
I heard tell of the judge saying perhaps even super guilty, which I've never heard that ruling before. Super
Oh.
guilty.
Right. I think he was trying to turn Super Saiyan right there. He's like, "Oh no, this is fine because I also helped create Supersonics. This is all on the up and up. I didn't steal this."
Man.
All right, yeah. So Sonic, right. I know we talked a lot about Scrapnik Island, but I think it is. We should at least mention briefly that you were part of the Sonic's 900th Adventure special, which is with a whole bunch of like Ian was involved, Evan, Stanley, also Nigel Kitching from Sonic the Comic fame. Like that's the first time.
That was wild.
Yes, the fact that he wrote Sonic and got paid, because I know he's written a couple stories for Sonic the Comic Online, but like this is the first time since Sonic the Comic was canceled that he did anything connected to Sega. Like, how did you get involved in that? Was it just, oh, you worked on the miniseries? Hey, we're planning this, or I don't know.
It's just kind of like, I think once you a lot of stuff in comics, like I was telling you about Agretzko and Black Mage. Once you
Mhm.
work with a publisher and they trust you and you've done stuff for them, they tend to start going, "Hey, we're working on this. Are you interested in doing this?" And they start like scooshing stuff your way. So yeah, they put it on my radar, and I'm like, of course I want to write for this. I want to pitch for this. And so 900 was interesting because I think the way it was pitched was Ian created the template for it. He came up with the idea of, oh, okay, we're getting rid of the warp topaz, and it's going to get passed off like a relay race through all these different characters and stories. And so that framework was pitched and accepted, and then we just pitched our individual portions of that in the middle of it. And my story was it was the Egg Shogun Z, where they fight the giant new Eggman robot in the city. So we got to design a new giant Eggman mech, which I would like to bring back at some point if I continue to write for it.
Oh yeah, no, it's a fun one. It's a fun bit. Just the fact that everyone came together. I know there was a part of me that was like, what if Ken Penders had also worked on this? But no, I
He was too busy grinding on the Laura Sue Chronicles, bro. He didn't have time for this crap. He's doing his aspirations are much higher than ours right now, you know.
Right. It's coming soon. Right. I guess I've keeping the audience updated. I just want everyone to know that the Laura Sue Chronicles is on its way. It's somewhere in the in which ocean? I guess it's the Pacific Ocean. It's somewhere in the Pacific Ocean still, but it's coming soon.
Okay.
Yeah, June 10th. It'll be landside, and
that's my birthday.
Oh,
what a gift!
And then
for you.
Right, and then he has 24 hours to pay the import tax. So on June 11th, which is of course Sonic's unofficial but actual birthday, right, because June 11th is when the original Sonic the Hedgehog was first recorded as being for sale, even though June 23rd is the date that Sega says Sonic 1 came out, but it wasn't. That's just a little. I say this all. It's fine. But yeah, so that's the Ken Penders Laura Sue update. We'll keep everyone informed because I know everyone. Everyone cares.
Helicopter feed following the boat over the ocean in pursuit. It's on its way.
Right. Well, if I was a weird billionaire, I probably would do that. Just because. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So 900 fun celebration. It was a celebration of all things Sonic.
Yeah.
Right. So at the moment that's the most recent Sonic thing you've done, right? I'm not forgetting anything else.
I think for Scrapnik though, I forgot to. I don't know if you were aware of this or if I brought it up before. A large part of Scrapnik, the idea came from Star Wars Episode 9. Remember that movie? Not very good, but it had this whole set piece with a sunken Death Star in the middle of the ocean that Ray visits. Yeah. And I remember going, "That's awesome! I'm going to steal that." And then I stole it, and I just put it in Scrapnik Island. That's what the whole idea came from. Was cool, it's a sunken Death Egg instead. So
it is a cool visual, even if the stuff around it's a little silly.
Sonic should be borrowing from Dragon Ball and Star Wars as like a rule. So I think that's totally right in keeping with the whole tradition of it.
Yeah.
I want to see like the episode 1. I want to see like the prequel trilogy. I guess that was kind of like the Archie comics for a period.
Jar Jar the
Palace intrigue. Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, there is the one issue that just has the pastiche of the episode 2 poster. Mammoth Mogul is
that, I remember that.
Yeah, and also Fang's sister. Or I guess Nick the Weasel. She apparently dated Han Solo because she has the Millennium Falcon and was like, "I got this from an old boyfriend," which I guess must have happened between episode 6 and 7, right? Because he's like, "Oh, I lost it," and maybe that's why him and Leia, had some issues because he was like,
got weaseled out of it.
I just want to interject here. One thing about my childhood that's strange is that my father always said, like, if somebody did like really poorly at a sport or like had a bad showing in any place, that person had worn the weasel suit. Like, oh man, I played golf and I wore the weasel suit today.
I'm keeping that one.
I grew up thinking like that's just the normal way you say like, oh man, what a bad job I did on that. I wore the weasel suit today. I was just disabused of that notion when I got to college, and it's like, how was the exam? Well, I wore the weasel suit on that exam. They're like, What
and
are you
and everyone just turned around and what? Like looked at you.
So, Fang the Weasel Suit.
Bang the weasel.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, you said the word sport. I was also going to bring this up because I was looking very quickly at your Instagram before we hopped on. Saw that Sega Sports tank top you were wearing. Where the heck you get that?
Oh, got it on eBay, man. I was just trolling eBay and I found it.
That's cool.
Lots of weird stuff on eBay. It's
Not
where I
even
got the
visual
Sonic where I got the Sonic the comic
Uh,
copies from the UK. Just looking on eBay for old 90s stuff.
That's right. Filling out, and soon you'll have them all, right? Every single one, maybe.
I should do that. I should buy more comics on eBay.
When I become a weird billionaire, that's what I'm going to do is get all
Yeah,
the Sonic
like
the
that-
comics.
Yeah, I read the comics, but it was on the computer.
Yeah.
You know, I was on like a laptop. It was like not the most ideal way to read a comic. You want to
feel it
physically have it. Yeah, you want to feel it.
I've been my whole thing has been contrary to what you've seen is I'm actually trying to cut back on physical a lot.
Really?
And what I do is I get an iPad and I have an iPad and I put the comics on that and that is the approximate size of a comic and I just flip through it like that. So it's
I do the same thing. It's just my screen is cracked.
Ooh.
And they ruined Comixology.
Oh my God! Don't get me started on them screwing Comixology up.
I can't. I loved Comixology.
Tragic.
And now there's nothing.
Yeah, now there's just stealing. I guess I don't know. Just going online and stealing.
Right. Don't want to promote it, but listen.
You can go here at www.
Right.
Flag this entire podcast. It's crazy. I don't know what they expect people to do though. They make it so hard. Like I have money and I want to get this stuff from you. Why are you making it so hard for me to consume your stuff? Like
this is the time when Bo says,
"Take my money." I don't know, what do I say?
Sega hates money.
Oh, Sega definitely hates money, but I don't think they're behind the tanking of.
No, I don't. Right. Although it'd be funny if Sega if they could buy.
Not against.
If Sega could buy a major comic book publisher, which one would you want them to buy?
Archie.
No,
don't say that.
I mean, like, let's say hypothetically, like Disney, Warner Brothers, like they were willing to let go, like any publisher, like don't even think about the fact that these multi-billion-dollar corporations
Sega owning a comics publisher. Oh man, I don't know. That's such a hard question. I kind of don't want them to do that. They got enough on their plate already, man. I don't.
Okay. Okay. How about this? What comic book character would you love to see in Fighters Mega Mix 2? Definitely coming one day.
Oh my God. What's my limit? Where can I draw from primarily for this?
God, that's a good question. See, I guess
I think this is a great idea, like just the Archie universe fighter game.
Okay, yeah, let's let's say if you could drag one of the Archie characters out of purgatory, and shove it. It could be a Sonic game. It could be Fighters Mega Mix. Like
it's Fighters Mega Mix 2.
It's Fighters Mega Mix.
Let's
like
keep
who
within the parameters you've established?
What Archie character would you love to see punch Akira in the face
through a glass window? I'm gonna show my bias here, but probably Shard the Metal Sonic. I really like that character. I like Sonic Robots, I guess. He's a really cool character.
Yeah.
That's
him and Eclipse the Darkling is really cool too. That would be a cool character to see.
Yeah. Oh, those are good choices.
How about Pseudo Sonic? I always like the way
Pseudo Sonic is big stupid face, cleats.
You could probably, if you poked Sega enough, because that's AOSTH. They seem to have the rights to certain things. Bring back Pseudo Sonic. Let's get him. He's a fun boy, right? He's a big old.
Yeah.
That was a thing with Scrapnik Island that people thought I was inspired by a story from Archie called The Island of Misfit Badniks, where Sonic ends up on an island of old discarded badniks and Pseudo Sonic is there. And I'm like, that sounds exactly like Scrapnik Island. I promise I did not. I didn't know that story existed before I wrote Scrapnik Island.
They do kind of have something like that in Sonic Boom too. Like there's a island of like broken Cubots.
is that there's an episode of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog I also didn't know about called like Scrap Valley or something, and there's like it's a valley of junk, and it's all these old reformed Robotnik
Oh
robots. I'm
yeah.
like this idea has come up several times before. I guess
Good idea.
I should just be glad I tapped into the ether somehow on this idea.
It's tried and true sci-fi, but it doesn't matter if other people have come up with a vague idea. It's how you execute it, because
Yeah.
isn't it like, oh, there's only like seven stories or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like it. There's a number seven. There's 7 Chaos Emeralds. Each one holds a story. And the green one, that's the romance. The
Right.
blue. No, I guess the blue one might be romance, right? That's cool. No, the red one's got to be romance. That's not, that's because it's spicy.
If my English class taught everything in relation to Chaos Emeralds, I'd be like English professor right now. Genius.
Okay, so I have some just like random Sonic fan questions that you've probably answered before in your posts. So you mentioned Sonic 3 and Knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your other top 3 favorite Sonics?
Top 3 other than Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the top 3, or
yeah, would that be in the number 1 spot? Would that be in the top 3?
That's my number 1 Sonic game, is Sonic 3 and Knuckles. But I also like Sonic Mania, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Generations. Oh goodness, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head the first Sonic Adventure.
You got your 3.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a top 5.
Yeah.
And what's your excitement level for Sonic Shadow Generations?
You forgot the X, buddy. You forgot the Sonic
We're
X
putting in the sound effect in post.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Every other week I was saying Sonic X Shadow Generations and getting my hand slapped on it of like, no, we don't say the X. So now I'm leaving the X out.
like Hunter x Hunter. You don't say it's not Hunter x Hunter, it's Hunter x Hunter.
Hunter. Oh.
My excitement level though is I don't know. I'm an older Sonic fan, so I feel like I've gone through enough to go like that looks cool. I'm gonna be kind of really emotionally distant from this game until I actually play it, because I don't want to get hurt ever again. But it doesn't look bad. So Sonic Generations, like I said, is one of my favorite Sonic games.
Yeah.
I would hope, as long as like the game is as good as the original Sonic Generations, I'll be happy with it. So
that's the one that brought me back in. It's like I haven't
Generations
played
is very good.
A Sonic game since Heroes.
Oh man!
And then, well, we're a year into a pandemic. Let's boot up Sonic. What's he been up to?
Yeah.
Generations is a real good one, and like I mean, this Shadow stuff they're adding on seems like it's going to be really plot driven, which will be cool, because like Sonic Generations, I like it, but it has like no story on it, so it'll be cool to have like some lore, narrative, story stuff on it finally. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm gonna play it day one, as I always do with these Sonic games. So
same. I'm not expecting it to be too much more than like an episode Shadow sort of size, like a Bowser's Fury. Maybe I don't even know how.
Bowser's Fury was really good.
and really big. I was gonna say I'm not even really expecting Bowser's Fury degree of episode Shadow. Somewhere between episode Shadow and Bowser's Fury, somewhere in that gigantic space is where I think it will be.
Somewhere between 3 levels that take 10 minutes to finish, and and an extra game, like a full game.
Yeah.
So that sounds good.
Yeah, we'll see. Because I mean, Sonic Generations itself is also pretty short. You can beat that game. You can beat Sonic Generations in an afternoon. So maybe they'll add enough on the Shadow to kind of justify it being kind of like, I guess it's going to be $60 still, I'm assuming. So.
I don't think they've said the price offhand, but
we officially don't know. But the leak said
I would assume 60. But
the leak said it was lower.
Did it?
Oh, really?
Lower? Okay.
Yeah, that it was $49.99.
Oh, okay. All right.
We'll see. Unless they're like, oh yeah, you can just rebuy Generations, and if you want Shadow, then you have to pay an extra $20. That's where they get you.
Don't say that.
It's short, but I think it shines in the Red Star ranks, because I think those are nicely placed.
Yeah.
I don't know if it necessarily shines in the music note collection thing.
What I'm curious about is because the original Generations, you could unlock the entire original Sonic 1 on it. So
that's right.
I wonder if they're gonna still have that. If they do, is it gonna be like the Christian Whitehead version? Is it just gonna be like, no, go play Sonic Origins now if you want to go play Sonic 1? Like I wonder how they're gonna do that. That'll be interesting.
I think it will still be in there as it was. And I did play it to completion for some reason in Generations because Sonic 1 is only like an hour.
Yeah.
The Sonic 1, that's not in the PC version, is it? That's only in the it's only in the consoles.
Oh, really?
So
Oh, really?
yeah, it's because like
go buy it on Steam if you want to play it.
yeah, like you could buy the ROM on Steam for a couple bucks, and like we don't want to cannibalize those sales, but there was no other. I mean, even though I think the Vintage Collection was out at that point, like the Sonic one, who knows? It would be nice to have an extra thing, but I also wouldn't be surprised if like, oh yeah, on Switch there's Sonic 1, on PC there's nothing. Go home. Well, you are home. You're playing a game on PC.
What do we think the music situation is going to be? So hopefully they have all the same tracks that were in Generations, but we're going to have like classic Shadow music remixes.
Classic Shadow? I don't think they're going to have any classic. I think I'm still kind of wondering because Shadow looks like he has just new levels because he's like he's doing like Final Rush in the screenshots we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know if there'll be classic remixes, but I'm assuming they would record new music for all that stuff.
So I would be looking forward to that as much as anything else because Generation soundtrack is fantastic.
Oh, that's always like, new Sonic game. I can't wait for a new soundtrack. At the very least, I'm getting a very good soundtrack out of this. That's kind of like the one sure bet.
Top 3 Sonic vocal tracks.
Vocal tracks. I like His World from Sonic 06.
Yeah.
Ghost Pumpkin Soup from Pumpkin Hill in Sonic Adventure 2. And then I like.
It's hard to believe that one's real.
Yeah, that one's. That whole soundtrack is hard to believe it's real. Honestly, Sonic Adventure 2. And then Work It Out from Sonic R. Those are my favorite.
Yeah, nice. Wow, that's a great top 3.
That is.
Top 3 favorite Sonic. Top 3 favorite Sonic moving pictures combined with sound. So it could be movies or TV shows or YouTube.
Oh, it's probably definitely the Sonic OVA.
Yeah.
Probably the Knuckles prologue that came out for Frontiers. That was amazing.
Man, so good.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
For a third one, that one's gonna like probably rotate a lot.
Yeah.
I would say moving picture. The Sonic CD opening.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
So not underground is what you're saying.
Not this time.
Okay. We'll ask you again in 2 weeks. We'll see.
Yeah.
It depends on how recently I've listened to the theme song, because that theme song is enough to make me put it in top 3 by itself. It's such a good theme song.
But it lies. Their mother will not be
It
found.
lies.
I know we're heading up to the end. So how about here? Just sort of like a wraparound, like question. What does Sonic the Hedgehog mean to you?
What does he mean to me?
Yeah.
I've always liked Sonic because he's what he means to, like, in the series. I think he's kind of freedom. He's this guy who believes in himself. Is just he doesn't let the world get to him. In a world where like everyone's always trying to tell you no, or like break you down, make you doubt yourself, telling you to conform, Sonic is a guy who just says, "No, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm going to live my life on my terms, the way I want, and you're free to do that whenever you want to." And that's always been like a really cool, uplifting message for me that I like to hear. And I don't know. It's always just been a special message, on top of him having an amazing character design and having a cool world on top of that. I think that's just a really cool core central message, is to be yourself, believe in yourself, don't let everyone get to you. So
Compromise does not exist.
That's right.
Yes.
I
love that.
Thank you, Danny Barnes.
Yeah.
And the games are good too. Like sometimes there's like good stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's like even before you get to the actual thing, it's like sort of just like the concept, character design, the spirit of it, the like message of it is very appealing.
It tickles my brain nice and good.
Oh yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I think, as David said, this is where we head towards the end.
That's right. We are heading towards the end of another episode of Sonic Weekly. Wow, that is almost, I think that's the smoothest segue ever to me saying this is the end of another episode of Sonic Weekly, but I've ruined it by saying all of this. But that's okay, because hey, if you got this far, you must have enjoyed it to some degree. And if you did, if you haven't already, you should, of course, subscribe to this podcast using your podcatcher of choice. Be that Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or if you're an Android user, you can use Podcast Addict. That has the Sonic Weekly seal of approval. That's right, because I got to think of something new to say about it. Yeah, but if you don't even want to use a podcatcher, you're like, that's too much. Or there's something, you want to keep things simple. You spend all your time on YouTube. We're also there. It's at Sonic-Weekly. Don't forget the at and the dash. And you can subscribe there. Listen to the same thing, but that's accompanied by gameplay from friend of the show, Jack of Old Games. Last weekend, there was some Sonic Adventure gameplay, right? A little bit of fun in the Knights pinball table. You should check it out. It's a good time, even if you've already listened to it on a podcatcher of choice. On YouTube, you can comment. You can also leave a review wherever people leave reviews for podcasts. Probably in those other places I mentioned. Should have mentioned that earlier. It's fine. It doesn't matter. Because, hey, if you want to get in contact with the show, we've also got an email address, sonicweeklypodcast@gmail.com. Drop us a line. We're still saving up. We want to read these emails. We read everything you send us, but we also want to have a show where we spend some time reading some emails. So send out some good questions, some good thoughts. We'll dive into that soon. But also that email, it's the only way you can get into our Discord server. Say, hey, give me that link, and we'll send it to you. And you can go ahead and chat with some like-minded Sonic the Hedgehog fans. It's chill in there. It's not just about Sonic, but it's mostly, this is a show about, we like Sonic. That's what we do. I can't lie about that. Of course, I got to thank Smoovies for the edit. Putting this together, making us sound crystal clear. Once again, thank you, Danny Barnes, for being our guest. And got to thank Bo and Grant for joining, for joining me. I'm joining them on this journey of Sonic the Hedgehog.
The Jeff Keighley wrap it up sign just appears.
So, okay, you've listened to the episode of Sonic Weekly. You heard the outro from David, but the show's not over. What happened? David, what happened?
Well, you see, I was like, oh yeah, I'm done. And then what I normally do is, I start folding things up, folding up all the notes, putting them in the big book of notes, closing the computer, putting it in a safe deposit box until next week, when suddenly I tripped over Jeff Keighley.
What?
Yep. Yeah, I just tripped right over him. And I was like, Jeff, what are you doing on the floor? And he said, oh, sorry, I was just, getting things ready for Summer Games Fest. Didn't you know? It's this Friday, June 7th, 2024. And I said, no, I don't pay attention to why you're on my floor. He's often there. But that, that was terrible, but that's fine. You know what? What happened was that Summer Games Fest happened. We knew it was coming.
Summer Games Fest happened.
And we got the new trailer for Sonic Shadow Generations. I know earlier in the episode you heard us talk about the leaks, which of course were all real. There was no reason to think they weren't, but there was additional information. It wasn't just, oh yeah, the leak covered it all, which is why we're here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We did not know.
No.
The leaks did not cover the left side of the Digital Deluxe package, which includes the deepest cut I have ever seen for a very weird pre-order tier strategy. You get a new level. It also seems like Gerald's Journal, which we talked about in the episode, is a physical only pre-order. So
yeah,
to get everything, you need to double dip, or maybe there's a way to buy the digital stuff separately, because the digital pre-order includes the Sonic Adventure skin, but also Terios. What? Who's Terios? What does that mean? Terios, of course, as you know, is the original name for Shadow when Sonic Team was developing the character and exploring different designs and looking at different names. So there is Prototype Shadow, but not called Alt Shadow, not called Prototype Shadow. Just it's assumed that why wouldn't you know?
Yeah,
the name Terios.
You, of course, the development of Sonic Adventure 2. Of course, you bought the 25th anniversary art book published by Cook and Becker. Why didn't you? You didn't because it wasn't that great. But yeah, that's where we first saw proper concept art. It has been online since. It was shown, I believe, during like the 30th anniversary shenanigans. They showed the like concept art from Adventure Era. I think they might have shown. I could be misremembering if they showed anything for Shadow. I know they showed plenty of characters there, but it is a deep cut.
Very deep cut.
Right. We're going into the
only
deepest,
one.
Yeah.
Only one of the ways in which gathering all of the materials for Sonic Shadow Generations is because there's also PlayStation exclusive prologue animations. So we're not sure if there's Nintendo Switch, PC, or Xbox exclusive things, but according to the website, there's bonus PlayStation exclusive prologue animations.
Right. Apparently,
there's still some questions, but the other huge thing, just to start with the huge things,
yes, huge,
is that there is going to be a hub world that is pretty expansive and takes from Sonic Frontiers, and we've seen there's a screenshot on the Sonic X Shadow Generations.com website where you can see that it kind of looks like Soliana, but like mixed with Bowser's Fury Islands, mixed with cyberspace, sort of just like mixed with the Generations, blank background.
Stretch your legs in an all-new hub world inspired by the open zone gameplay of Sonic Frontiers. As Shadow gains new powers, he can explore further and uncover the secrets hidden throughout.
That's how they describe it. Yeah.
Nice. And also, you can rescue Chow. So there was Chow being teased in the leaks. Like there was Chow that were apparent in the cake image that weren't in the original Generations version. We figured out what that is. We learned that the Chow are part of the more collectibles, bonus content, and more.
Yes.
You will have missions to rescue Chow hiding in every level, rack up the highest pinball score in the Casino Night Zone, and check out the museum for behind-the-scenes art, music, and more. Unclear if the drop dash from classic Sonic's moveset in Forces and Superstars is going to be retroactively added to Generations. It might not make sense because of how the spin dash uniquely worked as a button for classic Sonic in Generations, but I would still like it regardless. And that is unclear whether that is a new added feature or not. But rescuing Chow hopefully will be less tedious than the rescuing animals missions from the cyberspace levels in Frontiers.
Yeah. I guess we'll see how that is. I mean, I guess they would just have to be dropping the Chow in pre-existing levels. So there's only so many places you could hide them unless they really do expand certain bits more. I feel like most of the effort is going towards the Shadow side of this. They didn't just recreate the white space hub world from Generations. They've turned it into what we could call this the sixth island, right? I mean, that's kind of, if it's being inspired by Frontiers, it definitely has that 3D world Bowser's Fury dichotomy thing going. When they announced this game originally, we didn't really know how extensive the Shadow half of it was going to be, but it seems like it is going to be pretty substantial, at least based on that screenshot right there.
Yeah.
Which I'm all for. And presumably, maybe it is being built in the Frontiers engine. So the levels will be accessed, I guess, like how the Cyber Stage levels were. Maybe? I don't know. We really just have that one screenshot to go off of. The trailer didn't bother to show it. The trailer was all about showing things we saw a decade ago, and the new Shadow and some new Shadow levels.
Yeah,
got a little bit of Rail Canyon in there.
Yep,
a little bit of Kingdom Valley. Yeah.
Yes, Kingdom Valley was surprising to see from Sonic 06.
So
now we know 4 levels, each from 4 different games for Shadow's campaign. Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, the Ark, Spaceship from Adventure 2, Kingdom Valley from 06, and what is it from Shadow 05? Lethal Highway?
Well, right, there was still that city, which could be anything. Could be Westopolis, it could be something else. They didn't explicitly say here are the levels. I don't know if they really showed much more of that city, but we're definitely getting space. We're getting heroes. So it might be more than 3. It might be more than 3 levels.
Yes, it has already surpassed my expectations for what it was going to be. I definitely was not counting on a hub world where you could play around in. That is huge. And it looks like the story is going to be interesting. Shadow's going through with the wings, which we talked about a bit in the episode, but it looks like a Venom sort of storyline, even that like maybe some of the DNA, that alien DNA in him is being reactivated or...
Yeah, I mean, it seems the story really is focusing on Black Doom, although we did see Shadow witness the Time Eater in the trailer.
Yep.
So...
And Shadow has some interesting other villains. Like the website, I think, describes Black Doom as being his arch nemesis, but you've got Mephiles. You've got Infinite. I presume we will see both of them in Shadow Generations.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's just a guess. We didn't see them in this trailer.
We did not. I mean, we know from the first trailer that we're definitely fighting the Bio Lizard again. And it seems pretty obvious that you'd fight Black Doom. If we're throwing in more 06 levels, I feel like you really should drag Mephiles out. Let him fight. He feels like the more obvious choice to me as the main villain, but you know what? If it is put together, if it makes sense, then I'm 110% in with Black Doom. I want to be able to see. I want to see it all. I want to see more. I want to see what's going on.
Yeah.
On the website, there's an attack where Shadow has a big old stabby thing. What is this? It feels like it's Chaos Spear, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what? Yeah.
Stabby thing. Chaos
stabby thing. The Chaos stabby thing. Yeah.
Maria, this is what you wanted, right?
Yeah.
The Chaos stabby thing.
The Chaos stabby thing. All right. Yes. So we mentioned the leak.
Yeah.
And in the leak was the thing about the Gerald journal, right? In the PlayStation blog, they talk about it. It's mentioned as being available for pre-ordering the physical Day 1 edition, which implies it's a physical thing.
Right.
This is not, if you only get the digital version, you're not getting this thing.
Right.
And at first I was like, oh, I wonder what it could be. But it does mention it's 28 pages long, which is a lot more than I would have expected it to be.
Yeah, that is surprisingly substantial.
Yeah. And it says it's a logbook recording Gerald's innermost thoughts and drawings while creating Shadow and the Ark space station. So it is also going to get into him building the Ark, which I guess could answer some questions about, like, we've talked about Maria more than once on the show.
Yes.
She does get shot. I don't know if anybody knows this, but it happens. And
what?
Yeah, spoilers. But it's always sort of been ambiguous whether or not she was born. In Adventure 2, she has no memory of living on Earth, so the implication is she was born on the Ark. But this might reveal more, like, was the Ark being built while her mother was pregnant? Could it be that she was born, it was immediately found out this is bad, and then the Ark was built first, and then she was shuttled up there? I guess we might get into some weird timeline details depending on how. I mean, the fact is 28 pages makes me think somebody wrote a story, and we're going to read the story, and that might be one of the more exciting things here. Like I said, I'm still excited. I mean, I'm still afraid, but also excited.
Yeah. I guess I do feel a bit annoyed that I'm being coerced by the various pre-orders to buy it physically when I would happily forfeit the digital art book and soundtrack for a digital version of the journal.
Yeah.
And you know what I would sacrifice all those for is just a link to the PDF. That's actually that would work great.
It is funny that that it is just for the physical version. I forget if you said this and I was distracted, like you buy the physical version and then maybe you can get the digital stuff day 1.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, that could be it, but it would be nice if that was a bit clearer, because digital deluxe 72 hours early. I mean, if you're waiting for the physical just for that book, other people are going to have beaten the entire game front and back before you can pop in your disc. Yeah. Now, did you look at the Japanese trailer at all?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's different.
It's only different at the end card, which shows, hey, what do you get if you buy this game? They have a physical version that is different. The journal, not there. There is no journal. Instead, you get a physical art book. You get a bust of Shadow the Hedgehog of his holding the I guess the Black Arms logo, the Shadow the Hedgehog logo, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And a keychain. Of one part of the keychain is Sonic shoe, and the other part is Shadow shoe. So, and you also get a sticker of the Sonic Movie 3 logo for some reason.
Okay.
Right, which is very different from the physical version here in the West, which is you get that book. You get that book.
Yeah. I feel like this time we won. This time our version's better.
Yeah, I mean it is more like, because I'm assuming the art book is just the digital art book from the digital version.
Yeah.
But printed.
This weird Gerald journal, that's the prize, I think. And I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, because you have to pre-order it.
Yeah.
To get it. Like you can't just buy it like a week later, or you can't wait around even for it to go on sale to get the journal.
Right. It might not be there. You don't know how many copies of the journal they're going to have. So I guess if you're somebody now, Grant, I know you have a personal computer of some sort.
Yeah.
And you do have a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
You have double dipped in the past.
Yes, with pretty much every game.
With
since
every
Sonic
game,
Mania.
yes.
Yeah.
So hypothetically, you could digital deluxe it on the PC.
Yeah.
And pre-order it on the Switch physically.
Yeah, I would do it with PS5 and Switch rather than PC, but same difference.
Same difference,
and yeah, I just I don't know. It's feeling a little weirder this time.
I think it's because like the previous digital deluxe versions never seemed like you really need this, or like you won't be able to get this, or you can get this later. It does. The fact that the digital deluxe version includes an extra stage just by itself is already kind of they're sort of pushing it.
They are.
Right.
Yeah, and the 3-day early access it's like all the things that are kind of annoying.
Yeah.
That will like goose up your numbers. They're pulling out all the stops.
I feel like they had a lot of goodwill when it came to Frontiers. I don't remember what the digital deluxe Frontier stuff was off the bat, but the fact that they had like 3 waves of free DLC.
Yeah.
And I guess Origins, all their digital deluxe stuff just became part of Origins Plus. So if they went, hey, you waited a year for the physical version, we've got you covered. Here, it does feel a bit more double dipping. And if you want to be a Sonic Shadow Generations completionist, you're also going to have to import the Japanese version, because you want that bust on your desk. You want to look at Shadow all day, every day.
It's the only way I can bust.
Right. You can put that Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie logo sticker right in the middle of your television screen. But you can only do that if you get the Japanese version.
That's right. Okay, well, our time is up. So hope you enjoyed our quick reaction thoughts. We'll definitely be talking about this more next week. Stay tuned. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.